Namaste, hello and welcome to UPSC for everyone. My name is Abhinav and in this video, I'm going to give you an entirely new perspective of looking at the world. But before I do so, I must ask you a couple of questions. Have you ever wondered, how did this world came to be? Why are individuals and societies so different? And how does the world work? For example, have you ever wondered, what makes memes go viral? Who goes to college and why? Why do crimes occur? Why do we raise hands in a class but not at the dinner table? How do we choose love interests or life partners? And why do we meet each other in coffee shops? Well, we are going to find out about all of that stuff and so much more, especially you. You're going to learn about you and your place in the world. Welcome to Sociology. In simple terms, sociology is the scientific study of society and human behavior. Sociology got its start in the early 19th century thanks to a famous French philosopher named Auguste Comte. He wanted there to be a systematic science for studying society and a way to investigate and solve its basic problems. Early 18th and 19th centuries was the period of massive economic, social and political upheaval in Europe. This was the time when industrialization really took off, with factories growing like weed and connecting with the ever-expanding railway networks. And at the same time, the population of Europe exploded faster than at any point in its history. This was essentially true in cities where industrial production was centralized. All of these massive economic and social changes came with massive political shocks too. This period saw the advent of mass democracy, the fall of kings, and the rise of nation-states. This combined with the rise of science as a discipline was the context in which sociology arose. The first sociologists, including Comte, looked around at their quickly changing societies and the problems arising as a result of these changes. They were driven to try and scientifically understand these changes as well as to investigate and solve the basic problems of the society. You might say that society is this great big thing. It's the buildings, monuments, governments, and economies. And what does that have to do with going to college or choosing a love interest? Well, it turns out a lot. First, let us understand what is a society. Put simply, a society is a group of people who share a culture and a territory. Now, what is culture? Culture comprises of the language, beliefs, values, norms, behaviors, and even material objects that characterize a group and are passed from one generation to the next. And culture is in everything. To the biggest questions in politics, to the smallest interactions between people. So yes, society is big, but it's also small. Let me explain how. Look around you. Your surroundings, and literally every object, including the screen that you're looking at right now, which you did not make yourself, are all the products of the society. Even the most mundane things that you generally take for granted are the products of society. For example, your taste in music isn't purely yours entirely. What kind of music that you like can be influenced by anything from what you were exposed as a kid, to what your friends like now, to what neighborhood you grew up in, or to what school you went to. Sociologists would say that even your most intimate decisions, like whom to marry and even suicide, are shaped by the society. Sounds interesting? If you like to watch people and try to figure out why they do what they do, you will like sociology. Sociology peeks into the doors of the society so you can see what goes on behind them. Now you might say, okay, it all sounds good, but why should I invest my time in studying sociology? Let me ask some questions. Do you like solving puzzles and mysteries? Do you see in yourself a little detective, perhaps a Sherlock, a Bond, or a Nancy Drew? Do you enjoy the thrill of making sense of the disjointed facts and clues by connecting the links? Well, if you do, you will love sociology. In fact, you are already a sociologist of sorts. To study sociology is to embark on a fascinating process of discovery. We can compare sociology to a huge jigsaw puzzle or any other mystery. Like solving a mystery or a puzzle, sociology fits together the disjointed pieces of society. As we begin to see the interconnections, our perspective changes as we shift our eyes from many small, disjointed pieces to the whole that is being formed. And that enables us to see the world around us in an entirely new light. Of all the endeavors we could have entered, we choose sociology because of the ways in which it joins the pieces of society together and the challenges it poses to our ordinary thinking. And how does it challenge our ordinary thinking? It does so with a very special point of view called the sociological perspective. And what is sociological perspective? Sociological perspective essentially means two things. One, it means seeing the general in the particular, and two, it means seeing the strange in the familiar. Too much mumbo jumbo? Let me simplify it for you. When sociologists talk about seeing the general in the particular, they mean that each individual forms a part of the pattern. And by looking at the individual choices, a sociologist can see elements of the whole pattern, like seeing how a single stone fits into a mosaic. Let us explore this idea further. Seeing the general in the particular is a way of saying that sociology seeks to understand social behavior by placing it in the wider social context. A sociologist who overhears you singing a song might notice not just your choice of the song, but how that individual choice may have been influenced by your class, neighborhood, race, gender, or age. To take another example, a sociologist might not care about whether you, in particular, decide to get married, but she might be interested to understand about the declining marriage rate in your society and comment upon what is causing it and how it is impacting the society. Or she might be interested in the fact that in India, people tend to marry partners from the same caste, class, religion, and often the same region. In both these cases, in what people are singing and whom they marry, the sociologist is interested in a general pattern, a pattern consisting of a massive number of particular individual choices. Now let us divert our attention towards the second part of the sociological perspective, which perhaps is more difficult to do, that is, seeing the strange in the familiar. Seeing the strange in the familiar is to approach the everyday world as if you're seeing it for the very first time, as if you are an alien from another world. And this is extremely hard, but it's also incredibly important and kind of cool. Let us see how. When we ask the question in the very beginning as to why do we meet in coffee shops, that's a very small example of seeing the strange in the familiar. And this is so hard to do because your own society tends to look normal to you. You take it for granted as you are socialized into it. You are taught a common sense understanding of the society, and that's not a bad thing because you need a common sense understanding of the society in order to live in it. You need to know that you say namaste or shake hands when you meet someone new, that red at the traffic signal means stop, and a signal like this means danger. But if sociology is going to study the society, it needs to be able to look at these things as strange and unfamiliar in order to really understand how they work and to uncover patterns of behavior in a culture. Society is tricky. It gets into places you might not expect. So when we say that sociology is the study of society and human behavior, that means sociology is incredibly broad. In fact, it may be the broadest of what we call the social sciences. The social sciences includes disciplines like history, psychology, economics, etc. They all have different focuses and perspectives, and they are all trying to understand the social world objectively through controlled and repeated observations. So what makes sociology so different from any of these other social sciences? Well, like other social sciences, sociology is looking for patterns, recurring characteristics or events, but it looks for all kinds of patterns in all kinds of places. Sociology looks at all aspects of society at all scales, from two people talking to the differences between nation states. It's the scope along with the sociological perspective that really sets sociology apart. And mind you, sociology is not the same as common sense. Common sense has to just get us through the world, but sociology has to know what is true and what is right. And this is important because society's common sense doesn't only cover harmless conventions like greeting with namaste or shaking hands. Just a few years back, it was common sense in certain societies that child marriage is normal or that the caste-based system was divinely ordained. And just 200 years back in the West, it was the common sense that only white men are capable of participating in the society. It was common sense that slavery is right and that women should not be allowed to vote or to work. These things were common sense in the same way that their opposites are taken for granted now. The sociological perspective, seeing the general in the particular and the strange in the familiar, helps us to understand such problems. Not only that, sociological perspective helps us see some of the key concepts in the study of society, like the concepts of social location, marginalization, and power and inequality. Let us see how. If you imagine a map of society laying out all the social groups and their relations to each other, then your social location is your spot on that map. Social location is a way of classifying yourself in terms of race, caste, social class, gender, religion, sexual orientation, etc. Understanding social location is important because just like the sociologist looks for the general in the particular, a person's choices would be influenced by their social location. This is true in a bunch of ways, the most obvious being your social location can limit your choices. Some groups have legal rights and privileges while others don't. For instance, gays and lesbians cannot legally marry in India and many other parts of the world. So their social location limits their choices. Social location also impacts what you learn and what you are taught about the society. For example, whether or not you go to college can be heavily influenced by whether the social class you grew up in tends to see college education as a real or valuable possibility, or if they could afford a college education, and whether your gender is deemed appropriate for college education. And social location also impacts what others have learned and are taught about you. Take for instance the caste and gender prejudices, like the stereotypes about women being bad drivers, or the consistent findings in America that resumes with names that sound African American tend to get called less often than those with white sounding names, even though the resumes are otherwise identical. In all these ways, social location can contribute to marginalization of the social group. If a social group is marginalized, it means that it occupies a position outside the centers of power. Marginalized groups are often racial, ethnic, sexual, or religious minorities, and they tend to have a clear view of how power operates. Heterosexual people, for instance, often don't recognize what a social power it is to have their relationship socially sanctioned and to be able to display affection in public in ways LGBT people often can't. If marginalization is about being outside the centers of power, then that draws our attention to another fact, the fact that there are many different kinds of power and many different kinds of inequality. There are of course the obvious kinds like economic power, income inequality, or political power or politically enforced inequalities like segregation and slavery. Then there are less obvious kinds of social or cultural power and inequality. For instance, unfortunately in India, especially in urban centers, the people who do not speak English at all or are not that fluent are often judged as less intelligent, less attractive, and less mature. Sociology can help us identify and understand all of these things and maybe even try and fix them. And that's the whole point. Sociology is all about understanding society, and society is where we live. So we would like it to work as well as possible. Good sociology can help us formulate good public policy, And if we think back to Comte, his desire was to do just this, to understand and maybe fix the society's problems. We saw how society is both the big and the small because they're both related. Sociology is about understanding the whole thing at every level and how those levels interact. It's about understanding why you don't have to raise your hands at the dinner table and why common sense can lead to massive policy mistakes. This is the science of sociology. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Stay happy, stay safe, and have a great time. Thank you.